who else is on it? Yep.
It's a great lineup, folks.
Yeah, a good lot. And we're all local bands, you know. We all live in this area. And it's $35 camping. It's on somebody's property. $35 to get in, camp overnight. The entertainment's going from like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon all night. So those are the sort of things I'll put my name behind. I love it, you know. So apart from that, I won't go out and do all these cheap gigs now. This is a bit of a thing I've had in the past with bands that, okay, they start up and they get going and they go and out there for $400 or whatever for a gig or less. You know, a lot of bands are doing it for $200 and you go, hang on, you're crushing the industry for starters because the publican thinks he can go and get the next band for $200 or $400, right?
Exactly.
So anybody that's trying to make money out of the business that are worth a few dollars is getting put aside because of all these crappy bands going out there doing it cheap. People are going along to these venues seeing 4 out of 5 bands are pretty crap. Of course, they're not going to go and support that venue because
they didn't get a feeling that
there's not good enough entertainment. Whereas in the 70s and 80s, you could go and see a great band 2 or 3 nights a week, right? Because the venues were willing to support and put the money up to put a good band on because they know they could then draw the people to it. And so that was the highlight of your weekend highlight of the week to go out on a Friday, Saturday night to see a good band.
That's right. What comes first? The quality followed by the people, or do you expect people to come for a lack of quality?
I've got a question for you guys.
It's a huge question. Yeah.
All right, I've got a question. This is Ellen Briggs, comedian here. She was sitting in your chair there, Carl, a couple of weeks ago, and we had this good old bitch fest about in her industry, comedy. It's much like rock and roll. She's trying to get gigs all the time, and when she gets there. She, just like us, is surprised that you soon learn that the venue itself are just like, you know, a bunch of just working dudes, barmen and blah, 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 who have no entertainment mind.
Yeah.
You know, so when I was a kid, I thought that, picture a Las Vegas movie where the guy running the hotel is really careful about who he chooses for the entertainment to play at his hotel. You know, we need the right act at this thing, you know what I'm saying? So,
exactly, yeah.
But say in the, tell me, in the old days, tell me, you know what I mean? Well, I mean it.
You're no spring chicken
in the classic days, when there was more money going to venues because you had more people searching for the good stuff.
Yeah.
Were there people it was the publican sort of choosing, you're a great act, I want you guys to be at this pub, you know, was there much of that or was it much the same, just like you come through and...
Oh, well, it's like anything else, isn't it? If there's someone better than someone else and you think that they're actually worth more and they're going to draw a bigger crowd, then obviously they're worth putting on. That's up to, obviously, the venue, isn't it? But you're spot on. Venues these days just expect... we better put some live music on. We'll hire a duo, for instance. Don't even test them out. Don't even listen to them.
No, look, a lot of
that's what
stick them in a corner.
A lot of changes.
I've been to bars in the last couple of years, and one in particular that Peter and I know very well because there used to be a very successful jam at the Ashmore Tavern. I didn't say that. Set up by this guy here, and I used to help promote it for him. And after a year of bringing in 100 people a night on a bar that used to close at 6 o'clock or 6:30 on a Friday night after the chook raffle left, they decided, a new bar manager decided that he knew better and he stopped the jam. They put a duo on. It lasted 2 weeks.
And went back to having 3 people a night.
Yeah, and now they close at 6:30 on a Friday night again.
Right.
So you tell me what makes sense.
It's corporate thinking. Not only that, as I was going to say before, a lot of changes that have come into being, things like poker machines. Most of the pubs make most of their money through restaurants and through selling food because it's the biggest markup in food. So they promote that. A lot of the rooms that used to be sort of semi-auditoriums, like CSI, Southport there, now full of poker machines. Used to be actually an auditorium room. So this is the thing too. In Melbourne, there used to be 40 rooms that could hold 600 people and had a PA and a great stage and light show. Well, all the bands used to rotate. Most of those rooms now are full of poker machines because the pokie laws didn't come in till 90s in Melbourne. So a lot of these bottom line things, as Woolworths and Coles take over these pubs, it's all bottom line to them. They're all corporate people. They're not involved in entertainment. They're involved in running a liquor establishment.
And what's easy, like
they
less,
don't want the
less
hassle.
security and that sort of stuff.
That's exactly
we get
right.
a few old. If we get some old ladies in here, we'll get some money out of them.
So
I remember
that's what we're battling against. So you can't kind of sit back and whinge, we haven't got any gigs because the Pakies are taking over. What are you going to do? How do we think now to resurrect what we are doing or what I am doing? How do we do that? How do we now promote ourselves and get work and earn money from, what we've learnt to do, which is our craft? How do we do that these days? And that's a question on every musician's mind. And I think that's what you got to answer yourself. How do I get through that? Right. So
it's like everything else, Peter. A lot of it's marketing.
Of course.
Obviously, and unfortunately, one of the things that seems to come with musicianship is lack of marketing skills or business skills. Left-brainers, right-brainers, whatever you like to call them.
The right brain is the artistic side. Left brain's the logic side.
Whichever. Exactly right. So that's why successful bands have always normally had a manager.
I never had to do a thing for myself in the 70s and 80s. It's all done for me.
No, but I'm talking about generally speaking.
Now I had to go out and do my own posters, my own promo, my own recording, my own everything, just to get a look into a venue.
Yeah.
But I think that's what's going to change. It takes a lot of, and I like to think I'm one of them. It takes passionate people, I think, to turn this industry around a bit. It'll happen. It's just, and people need to get behind it. We've had a bitch session this afternoon, and I hear people bitching about it all the time. And I'm, as Drew knows, I'm an avid Facebook participant, I guess is the best way to put it.
Facebook bitch.
And all about music, and a lot of my friends on Facebook feel exactly the same way. And so they don't know how to support something that's not there. So there needs a bit of leadership where people actually start saying, well, let's change this. Let's turn this into a revolution and go and knock on a few doors and twist a few arms and see if we can get this thing happening again. And I guess that's what I'm all about.
Well, you're wearing a Burley Underground Drummers T-shirt, which I haven't been there, but my mate raves about the place, right? How it's basically an industrial warehouse in the middle of somewhere.
In Burley,
and
the name Burley.
It's I don't know if I'm letting it out of the bag, but it's BYO. There's a band that plays. You can put on your own events in this thing. Well,
Peter can tell you probably more about it. But it's a great venue. In fact, they just had a hell of a jam there on last Saturday night. They had a cancellation of a band that I sort of do a little bit of promotion on Facebook for. They had a bit of a problem being there, so they had a jam. Just same, basically, the musicians that the Ashmore Jam used to have. Right. Same caliber, awesome musicians. The coast is full of them.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Like maybe that's the way. Like
more venues like that.
Yeah, like this. It just shifts from going. I don't want to go to a Coles-based thing where there's
exactly
over here. That's where all the girls are.
Well, have you noticed what I mean? Drew, have you noticed on the Gold Coast there's a few people out there, and I can't name them all. They'll be here all day, but there's certain pop-up. When I say pop-up, they're bigger than pop-ups. But you've got venues popping up around the Gold Coast.
Marquetta is a beautiful example.
And what's it
that
called?
big one at Helensvale?
Night Quarter. And then there's a Sunday sessions in Palmy and so on and so on. These things are happening again. Yeah. So that to me is very encouraging that the music scene's starting to change. And people do want to hear some live organic music, and when they go along, and because they're family oriented. People tend to think, well, hang on a second, I didn't realise this sort of quality of music was actually even out there because I'm fed this radio.
Yeah. Well, we used to run the Musos club up at Ashmore, which definitely wasn't family orientated.
Especially after that raffle.
We'll leave that alone, right?
But the beauty of that is we had live music all night long. It was a basically private club. People would bring their own booze, and stash it behind the bar for them and charge them to, serve it back to them. Yep. But the beauty of it was run by musos, for musos, and we had a great big PA, a big stage in there, and it was mega for the few years it was run. I got out of it basically because of I was probably drinking more and more. Running a bar, it's difficult. I thought, no, that's not the avenue I want to take, so I had to get out of there.
That's another thing I noticed. I grew up in Rochedale in Brisbane, right? When I left school, when all my mates left school, we went to the nearest pub. Even if it was the dodgiest pub, it's what you did. Uh-huh. You went and drank at the local pub, and it was just, music all night. That's what you did.
Yeah.
Right? So I always think when we play some of these venues, like, where are the kids? Like, if say we're at Currumbin, I say this a lot actually. If we're at Currumbin, where are the kids at this tavern? Like, you know what I mean? Are they all driving to surfers? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
probably not driving because they,
are people drinking less?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
No, they're at home on Facebook.
Facebook.
Well, that could be true. Often I'm the same.
Yeah.
But only because I'm trying to promote music, of course. But it's a good point, though. I think times have changed not only with music, but it's also obviously the drink driving laws. And the nanny state mentality, if I can mention that, lockout laws are coming in and all that sort of stuff.
Sydney's really hurting at the moment, apparently.
Well, it's about to happen in Queensland too.
Yeah, they're about to bring similar laws in up here.
Did you ever think King's Cross would be shut down?
Yeah. Oh, man, when I first came from New Zealand, Drew, I'm changing the subject here, 1977, showing my age, 21 years old. Hopped on a plane, didn't know where I was going, talked to the bus driver at Sydney Airport and said, quick, I was so cheap tonight, and I ended up spending 18 months in King's Cross.
Oh,
back in the late 70s. I have seen everything you could possibly see. In fact, I wrote a letter to my mother once saying...
What about Porky's? Was Porky's open back then?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And and a few other... Yep. Anyway, I actually wrote a letter to my mother, actually, back in New Zealand, saying I can get anything I want, and I put in brackets...
Springfields.
Oh, mate. Yeah,
mate.
The old Mansell Room.
Yeah?
Yeah, I remember that. I used to actually live next door to the Mansell Room. I
That's
heard every note
yeah.
played in the 1978,
We did a
79.
few gigs at that one.
But the point about the letter was I actually wrote a letter saying I can get anything I want within 20 feet of my front door, and I put in brackets, and I mean anything.
Yeah.
First night there, someone got shot on the front doorstep of the little hotel I was staying in, etc. But it's a wild place, but it was a friendly place, actually, strange enough. Wasn't actually that much going on. Of course, there was stuff behind the scenes, but it pumped, and during the day, it was like a little village. It's a pity to see that sort of culture being totally cleansed.
Let's go.
Does that make sense?
Let's go and reminisce a little bit back in the old
It's now
days.
just like a white. It may as well be a hospital room.
Yeah. Very odd.
Yeah.
It's a culture, see?
Yeah, that's
Culture
what
of
culture.
that.
Yeah,
People. Well, I would drive. As soon as we landed in Sydney, we lived there for a little while. We lived out at Ashfield. The whole band, there was 4 of us, and first thing we did, let's go to the Cross, because it was a culture, a thing you did in Sydney.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of the like the late night pizza joints and kebab shops and that, they're all cutting down here because
There's a food law you can't serve after.
After 10 p.m. I think now, yeah.
No, the venue's going down the tube, so there's no one to.
No, but they've actually cut out. Apparently, they've brought in a law in some of the suburbs where the nightlife is. You can't actually sell a kebab after 10 p.m.
Yeah,
now
because
either.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, because people might fight in the queue over the.
Anyhow,
kebabs.
instead of
Hey,
complaining.
another bit session there, Drew. Sorry
Good.
about that.
No, hey, let's do
Okay,
it.
complain. Go on. I was going to say, instead of complaining, let's do something else.
We haven't
Go on.
complained for 20
Complain.
minutes. That's
Go
true.
on. You got to complain. Go on.
It's
Hey,
true.
no, I'm over complaining. I just think it's always the same, a positive mentality. We've had a whinge, and we should confront these issues. But at the end of the day, it won't change unless we actually do something positive about things. And podcasts like this, Drew, help the cause, don't they?
Yeah.
I was going to say, let's go and talk about some old rock and roll stories.
Yeah.
About the good old days.
Why don't we just play some rock and roll? I can play 4 chords on a guitar. There's a bass guitar over there.
There's half a drum kit.
I think I taught you one of those chords, you know?
I've still got my original book. No, I was actually telling Drew I've got 7 guitars. They're all, but I can't play any of them really well. But I just love guitars. They're actually a work of art. I just love looking at them. Yeah. I wish I could play one.
Really? You can't play that?
No, I'm just half-heartedly. I'm a strummer, mate.
Yeah.
But I started playing music in a band when I was a kid with the Beatles and so on. There's only 3 chords necessary in those days anyway.
Yeah. Can you put a song together, though?
Yeah, I used to write songs, actually.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I love writing lyrics, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What about you, Pete? Put songs together. Oh, put it this way. I was a rhythm guitarist in a band. We did quite well back in the day. Well, not really compared to who I'm sitting on the table with. But it dawned on me 5 years into this band that I'd never written a song. Like,
Okay.
to actually, it was a huge moment. Like, what have I been thinking for 5 years?
Well,
to start to finish, to actually finish a project.
I have
It's a
a
good
really
thing
good
to you.
little publicity stunt coming out at the end of this year. Now, you know how every new artist you see, debut album by such and such, debut album. Well, my publicity is going to be 61-year-old releases his debut album.
Good idea.
Because you got to imagine I've played behind all these people all my life. And I've always written all my life. My sister was a piano teacher, so I play a bit of piano. I play guitar. Well,